You see, there's kind of this buzzword in ministry. It's called burnout. And people talk about getting burnout, serving the Lord and getting burnout. And it can be a real thing. I'm not trying to minimize it. But I'm also saying, if you're really following the Lord's will, He's going to give you the strength to do what He's called you to do. You see, so many people, they do things that God hasn't called them to do, and that's why they're exhausted. They're doing things in the flesh. But if we depend on the Spirit and do what God's Spirit is leading us to do, we will have the energy that He needs us to do it. You know, Paul said this. He said, by the grace of God, I am what I am. And His grace to me was not in vain. Meaning, God's grace to me, it didn't return back with no result. God's grace actually resulted in something. God's grace is meant to lead to transformation. God's grace is not meant to just be a gift you take and then you have nothing to give back. I mean, it is a gift that we cannot pay God back with. Obviously, that's what grace is. But also, if you really understand God's grace, it will result in good works, because the Bible says faith without works is dead. And you see, Paul says, by the grace of God, I am what I am. Everything I have, every gift I have, every ability I have, every energy, all the energy I have, it's from God. He said, but on the contrary, I worked harder than everyone. But then he says this, it was not I, it was the grace of God working through me. And I can testify to you today that there's times in my life where I try to do ministry, I try to do things for God, I try to work in my own strength, and it leads to exhaustion. But when I'm dependent on His Spirit, when I'm in prayer, when I'm in communion with the Father, waiting for His leading, I'm telling you, there's an endless supply of energy. Jesus said, my food, my nourishment is to do the will of the Father. And when you're abiding in Him and you're doing the will of the Father, I'm telling you, He'll give you all the energy you need, supernatural energy, energy from heaven that renews your strength as you wait on Him, that you shall be like an eagle that is soaring above, not getting tired, but following Him in His strength. And so if you're tired, if you're exhausted, I want to tell you, learn to depend on the Spirit. Learn to abide in Him. Learn to seek Him out, and He will give you the strength you need to serve Him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. God doesn't need people serving Him with a frown on their face. God doesn't need people serving Him out of drudgery. No, He wants you to serve Him with joy. And if you've lost your joy, I want to encourage you to try to get that back. Pray, God, Lord, restore to me the joy of my salvation, because following Jesus, the fruit of the Spirit is joy. So if you're not walking in joy, you're not in the fruit of the Spirit in that moment.